Let's say everybody, welcome in. This is Sports Beat on 90 FM, your only alternative. My name is Alex Strofe. I'll be hanging out with you for the next hour, which I'm incredibly excited about, by the way. Hope you're doing well in these unprecedented times. It's been crazy, but the good news is, and you know what? I do sports, as I always say, sports are a distraction from reality. And we finally have a good amount of that from, it's the first time in several weeks that we've been able to sit down, talk about sports and not think about COVID-19. And sometimes you just need a break from real life. And that's what sports usually provide for a lot of people. So ESPN went ahead and released The Last Dance. The first two episodes, which is a 10-part documentary about the 1997-1998 Chicago Bulls. The first two episodes, 1 hour each, finally got around to it last night. I was not one of the 6.1 million people that watched it live. By the way, that's the highest viewed documentary in ESPN history, and that was just the debut. So I wasn't one of the 6.1 million people to watch it live. I finally got to it last night. Holy smokes, was that good. I'm so excited for this Sunday because it's awesome. I mean, it's really, I was born at the tail end of 1998. So this was done with when I became a person. So it's cool to look back and see Michael Jordan and just relive kind of this season, which there's a lot going on there. I mean, there was a lot of pieces to that sixth championship team for the Chicago Bulls. But that's all I'll do on that. If you haven't seen it yet, go try to somehow. And it will be, again, Sunday night on ESPN. So it's really good stuff so far. Excited for more. So ESPN, good on them for distracting us with that. Good on the NFL, though, for keeping us entertained as well. Because they're the one league, the NFL is, that is kept it going despite the circumstances, because it is the off season for them. But they've found ways to keep things going. Free agency was pretty much entirely done, and I know it's not over with yet. Obviously, with the draft starting tomorrow, we'll get to that. But it for them to keep, the free agency done, all virtual pretty much. Signings, Tom Brady went to a different team. I mean, you have the biggest free agency headline potentially ever right there. And it was done pretty much virtually. Although a lot of the discussions happened beforehand, whatever have you. But nonetheless, it's still Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay. So they kept fans entertained. Now, speaking of Tampa Bay, they got a guy to come out of retirement. So Rob Gronkowski, who I'm sure you know the name, was the tight end of the Patriots during the long span, the long tenure, if you will, they had with the championships and the Super Bowl appearances and the AFC championships and, how many playoff berths in a row. Rob Gronkowski was the tight end. And he's potentially the best tight end football's ever seen. And he retired at the end of, or the year they won the Super Bowl against the Los Angeles Rams. So it was the end of the 2018 season, early 2019. So over a year ago, he retired. About 14 months ago, in fact. And now a month and a day after Tom Brady signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Rob Gronkowski comes out of retirement and gets traded because the Patriots still own his rights. So he gets traded to Tampa Bay. And now he's teaming up with Tom Brady. Re-teaming up, if you will, under Bruce Arians in Tampa, Florida. So why did Rob Gronkowski retire and then unretire? because I don't think it was to go live out his dream life in the WWE. Remember a couple of weeks ago, months ago now, I guess, when we were talking about Gronkowski signing with the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment? And now he's going back to football. So I don't think he retired initially to go try to be John Cena. That's not what I thought or think at this point. I think there was definitely something going on in regards to Bill Belichick's relationship. And we know Gronkowski had some health issues, and that was the reason he said he walked away. But now here we go, and he's already got number 87. But can we talk about the video that Tom Brady posted on Twitter? It was him and he does a signal call, and Gronkowski runs out of the woods, and he says, "I'm tired, but let's do this." And Tom Brady just tweeted, "Run it back. We're running it back." So I had a lot of questions about this video because, number one, they are not maintaining social distancing. 2 weeks ago, we talked how Tom Brady went on Howard Stern and he's renting Derek Jeter's house. So is this happening at Derek Jeter's house? Is Derek Jeter okay with Rob Gronkowski staying at his house? I have a lot of questions. But seriously, this is just unbelievable. The fact that Rob Gronkowski's in the NFL again. But I'm not backing down from what I've been saying since March 20th, when Tom Brady signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not going to back down from this. As it stands right now, even with the addition of Gronk, I don't think 7-9 is an outrageous record. And I got it in a couple Twitter scrums today. One with Jake Senholz, in fact, who formerly the co-host on the show. But he said it's impossible for them to win only 7 games. It's impossible. They have Tom Brady, who's 42 years old. They have Rob Gronkowski, who hasn't played football in a year and a half. Had their quarterback not thrown 30 interceptions, they might have won more than 7 games. Yeah, that's true. And again, this year they'll be playing a third place schedule. So yeah, the road isn't terribly difficult. I'll admit that. But folks, you're missing a very big part of this Tampa Bay relationship. Tom Brady is plugging into a brand new offense. And I know he's 42. I know he's the greatest player to ever do it. And I should not sit here and throw an ounce of doubt in the direction of Tom Brady and now Rob Gronkowski, because that's something to talk about too. Is their connection, Brady to Gronkowski, still going to be there and be reminiscent of the glory days in New England? Sure. I'm sure they'll have their moments. And I'm not stupid enough to sit here and be the guy to say, Tom Brady's 42, he's donezo. Because that's just silly. I probably said that 5 years ago and look like an idiot. We've probably all done it a few times. I probably did it within the last 6 months. Tom Brady's done, right? But at the end of the day, folks, Tom Brady might have an issue transitioning from Bill Belichick for 2 decades now into a 42-year-old man's body in a new offense under Bruce Arians. And Bruce Arians is the quarterback whisperer, right? A lot of that gets tossed at him a lot. I think it's going to work. I just don't think 7-9 is outrageous. I don't think 10-6 is crazy. I think that might be a little high in that division. I think 3-3 in the division is completely realistic. 2-4 is realistic. I mean, New Orleans obviously runs that division, and nobody's going to make me think otherwise. Atlanta's got to have a bounce back year this year. I mean, this is a big year for Atlanta. So they're going to have something to prove. They've got a chip on their shoulder. Those are going to be fun games, by the way. Tampa Bay and Atlanta. If Atlanta's offense can get rolling, those will be some high-scoring affairs. But that's beside the point. And the last team, Carolina, we don't know where they stand right now. New head coach, new quarterback. They lost their star defenseman, but they have a high pick in tomorrow's draft, which we'll get to in about 5 minutes with Denton Day of SB Nation Radio. There's there's a lot of question marks in that division, but I don't think if we said, okay, Tampa will sneak one out against Atlanta and split it, they'll get swept by New Orleans and, they split with Carolina. That's not an outrageous prediction. So 2-4 in the division. Some of their out of division games aren't that tough. I think they get Minnesota, that's a tough one. I think they get Chicago as well. Let me Google it because I don't know it off the top of my head. But I know that it's not outrageous. I just don't understand how you can throw stones. So look, let's just go through it. So Atlanta, we said they'll split. So any division opponents, we're just gonna say they're 2-4. Bears and Soldier Field, that toss up. Probably Tampa Bay. But Denver has something to prove. Detroit has something to prove. The Giants could be better. I mean, second year for Daniel Jones. These opponents, they play the Packers. It is in Tampa. They play Minnesota in Tampa. They play Kansas City in Tampa. They play the Chargers in Tampa. They play the Rams in Tampa. So every single one of their games at home. So those were their out of division games at home. And then the other 3 home games are division opponents. So all 8 of their home games are tough. I don't know. I think speculation being thrown in the direction of Tampa Bay right now is absolutely deserved. I think it's absurd to think this team, just because they got Tom Brady and Gronkowski, who's coming off of a year without playing football, and he openly admitted he hasn't really played football. He hasn't caught a pass in over a year. He's not going to be the same Gronkowski. Brady's probably going to be the same Brady, but Brady isn't, Brady when he was 32. He's 42 now. Tampa Bay is going to be different. They're going to be the best storyline of the NFL season eventually when that rolls around. But we've got a while before we can get there. So I'm going to transition over now. The NFL draft starts tomorrow, which is incredibly exciting. My probably favorite event of the year is the NFL draft. And especially since we haven't, this is just a sports lover's dream this week is. And you've got big names. If you're a college football fan, you know who's going number 1. Everybody and their mama knows who's going number 1. And it's the handsome quarterback from LSU who won the Heisman Trophy. Joe Burrow's going to Cincinnati. But what happens at pick number 2? That's Washington's pick. And I just so happen to have a guy in the line that might know a little bit more than me. Denton Day of SB Nation Radio, when the slider decides to work for me. Hey, Denton, how are you? Well, we're going to have some difficulties with Denton, apparently, because that likes to happen, which we love. So Washington is at pick 2, which is where Denton Day stands. And we'll get him in just a moment. Detroit's at 3, so that's an interesting pick. I don't think they go quarterback there. The Giants are at 4. They won't go quarterback. Miami will probably go quarterback at 5. There's a chance the Packers draft a quarterback, and we'll get to that later in this one. Now, we will try to see if we can hook up with Denton Day now again. Denton, anything on your end, my friend? Denton's audio just does not want to cooperate. We'll get to him. We're going to take a quick timeout. This is Sports Beat. 90 FM. We'll be back with Denton Day. Okay. Hey, you got me or not? I can't hear you at all. Hey, Megan. Oh, no good. All good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, your audio is not showing up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? What the fuck? Okay, now we got your audio. Okay, cool. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear
All
me?
right, perfect. I'm playing your song for you.
Oh, hey, I know this song.
Yeah, you do. You're pretty familiar, aren't you? So, yeah, well, it just wasn't working for some reason for a second. So I cut to this song. So we'll do this and I'll let it play out. But we'll start with Washington. I'm just running through like the top 5 right now because that's really all people give a shit about, and then the Packers. So we'll talk just some prospects, but we'll lead off with Gronk and Brady.
Okay, that works.
Works for you.
Yeah.
How are you, my friend? You all good?
I'm good. It's been a last couple of days, but I'm good. Can't complain.
Good.
I'm seeing a lot more people lose their job, which is never fun, but
really?
Comes with the territory. Yeah.
What happened now?
A lot of the people at SB Nation who got furloughed. They got axed today, so that's unfortunate. Shit. Yeah, not everyone, but just some of the producers.
You're not going to be a part of that, are you?
No. They don't fucking pay me anyway. So
right. So I was going to say, I don't know how they would try to attempt that, but
yeah.
Okay. Shit. I forgot the NFL draft music. What am I doing? All right. I will talk to you in a couple seconds.
All right. Sounds good.
Maybe we could start again.
Back here on Sports Beat on 90 FM, my name's Alex Strofe. Thanks so much for hanging out. We fixed our issues, and I think it was because I didn't click the effect. So let's try this. We're going to go to the 90 FM phone line. Thank you for calling 90 FM. And we will bring on the host of In My Opinion with Denton Day on SB Nation Radio, my good friend, Denton Day from Washington, D.C. Hi, Denton. How are you?
Well, what's going on, Alex? How you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Good to hear from you, my friend. So talk to me. What is new in the world of Denton Day these last couple of days?
Well, these last couple of days have been great because we have real sports related topics to discuss. We got the NFL draft coming up. We had the Last Dance this weekend. It's like this fury and flurry of great sports content. It's been a while since we've had real fun sports things to talk about. So I've been loving the past few days. I hope you have as well.
I have been. I appreciate that. Look, I think this NFL draft thing, I haven't been this excited in a very long time. And your Redskins are picking at number 2. That's pretty exciting stuff.
They are, as long as they make the right pick. But the ratings for this draft are going to be sky high just because it'll be a time for people to get around and sit around a television. And because we've been so starved for sports, these ratings are going to go through the roof. So ESPN, NFL Network, they are loving life right now.
They have to be, Denton, because look, I mean, it's going to be a weird draft, though. It's going to be a setup that we have never seen before. So what do you think is going to go down? Is there going to be, what's the over under here, Denton, on teams that either miss their pick or almost nearly run out of time and blame it on technical difficulties?
Well, there's definitely going to be some, because we had the run through this past Monday, and there were some issues there with the Bengals that led to, I think the official time was a 2.5 minute delay. But one of the nice things about how the NFL is doing this, and they're doing their best, which I guess is all you can really ask. If you do have a technical difficulty, the clock is going to stop. So it's not like you're going to run out of time. I I guess people are having a lot more fun with this idea that you're going to like auto draft a pick, which is not how this is going to work. Like this is not your fantasy league that you do with your friends. You're not going to end up picking like a 7th rounder in the 1st round because your Wi-Fi cut out.
Right.
The NFL is going to take precautions to make sure this gets done the right way. Now, the bad part, if we do have a plethora of technical difficulties, is that this thing could end at like 2 a.m. And I love the NFL draft, but I would prefer that this not take 6 hours. So that's like the only thing I'm kind of worried about. We're going to get some technical difficulties. That's just bound to happen. But I don't think it's going to be anything super major. At least I'm hoping it's not going to be anything super major.
Denton, I think it's very, very possible that, even come like pick 5, Miami's just going to forget or something, right? Who's the team, if you had to pick one, that's just going to mess it up on day 1 of the draft?
Well, here's the scary thing. If you just look at picks 1 through 5, I think all 5 of those probably have pretty good odds of being the team to mess something up. I mean, Cincinnati just makes too much sense just because the way their organization is run. And you can say that exact same thing about the Redskins because they've been a disaster ever since Dan Snyder took over. The Lions have a degree of problems with it themselves. Obviously, you are an NFC North territory, so any chance we get to jab the Lions, we're going to take here on this station so that the Lions have an opportunity to do so. Dave Gettleman is wild just in general. We've all made fun of his setup, which, to be fair or not fair, I mean, you could defend his setup if you really, really want to, but the Giants have all sorts of issues. And then you have Miami. So the first 5 seem like candidates to mess up a little bit. But I do think I would say Cincinnati has the best opportunity just because of how they're run. And I just don't want to say that my team is going to mess up. So I'll say Cincinnati.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question for you, Denton. Obviously, we know Joe Burrow's going number 1 to Cincinnati. If we look at pick number 2, what are the odds your Redskins don't pick Chase Young?
I will streak through my neighborhood if they don't pick Chase Young. I mean, I will be a furious individual if number 2 comes and it is a name that is not Chase Young on the screen. I'm going to be furious because he is the guy to go to. I'm a firm believer that you build things through the defense and you build a great winning team through the front 7 of that defense. And what Chase Young would bring to the Redskins defensive front is something the team hasn't, I don't know if they've ever really had. It's a chance to be a dominant pass rushing team. It helped the San Francisco 49ers tremendously. They went from 4 wins to 12 wins. It helped the Denver Broncos carry Peyton Manning to a Super Bowl, dethroning Cam Newton. Ron Rivera knows that feeling very, very well. So I'm hoping he learns from that. And with the defensive coaches that we have on this team, the Chase Young pick just seems like the best possible one for this team. He's not a player on the board, best player in the draft, but he does fit that need that they need. So, I mean, it seems like all too perfect to mess up, but I mean, it's kind of what the Redskins have done for 20 years. So I'm been on Chase Young's train to DC, him coming home for the last probably 4 or 5 months here. So I'm big on the Chase Young train.
And I absolutely don't blame you. How can you not be on the Chase Young train? The guy's absolutely a maniac. And obviously he's got a teammate that will probably go somewhere behind him, Jeffrey Okudah, somewhere within the top 10, I imagine. But I want to stay on kind of the top 10 area. Quarterbacks that go in the top 10. Do you think all 3 of the Joe Burrow, Tungo Vailoa, Justin Herbert trio, do you think all 3 of them go within the top 10?
See, I've wrestled with this a little bit. I definitely think Joe Burrow and Tua will. It's the question of where does Tua go, though, that will depend on where Justin Herbert goes, or vice versa. If Miami takes Herbert at 5, I don't think not the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, I don't think they can pass up Tua at 6. But if Tua goes at 5, I would say the Chargers can look at Justin Herbert and say, we can pass up on him and not fall bad about it. I think there is still a sizable gap in terms of talent between Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert. Now, if you're afraid of the injuries, that's one thing, and I can't get on you for being afraid of that. But in terms of actual talent, I don't really think it's close between those 2 guys. It's very clear who the top 2 quarterbacks are talent-wise. It's Joe Burrow, it's Tua Tagovailoa. You could place those 2 in whichever order you so please. But there's a very large gap between those 2 guys and Justin Herbert. But if Miami loves Justin Herbert, and some of the things we've been hearing out of Dolphins camp is that they are really falling in love with this kid. If they take him at 5, Tua at 6 is not something Los Angeles can pass up. So I think if Herbert goes 5, then yes, we 100% see 3 guys in the top 10. If he doesn't, though, I do think Justin Herbert could fall.
Now, let me ask you this because, and I know you did a little bit of this on yesterday's show, in my opinion, with Denton Day on SB Nation Radio. As Denton Day joins us at Denton_Day on Twitter. Jordan Love is a really, really interesting product to me, Denton. I know my biggest fear, and I think you might share this, is that he goes 23 to the New England Patriots. Where do you see him falling or going earlier? How do you see Jordan Love playing out tomorrow? Give me some of your psychic ability.
I think eventually he's going to go top second round. I feel like that's probably
Really?
the best chance. Somebody will trade up to get him, but I don't think he goes in the first round. I like the Patrick Mahomes comparisons. I certainly see some of the things that people are talking about when they make those comparisons, but this almost weirdly gives me Sean McVay young coaching vibes. You know, like when the Rams had Sean McVay, everyone's like, oh, we have to get a very young coach. Well, with Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love, those comparisons almost feel similar. Like you see Patrick Mahomes and his success, so naturally you would think, oh, we have someone that looks somewhat like him. Let's automatically go draft him. And for the Patriots, I don't necessarily see Bill Belichick as a guy that would make a decision like that. So I think in terms of your biggest fear of not wanting him to go there, you might be safe. Now, does another team possibly feel that way? I'm not 100% sure. This is one of the weird instances. We haven't had all of the insight that we normally get. We don't have all of the access that we normally get due to the pandemic going on, that we don't really know how teams are feeling. It's one of the weird years where you truly don't actually know. And that almost makes things a little bit more fun. But I would say that Jordan Love is probably going to be the first quarterback selected in the second round. I don't think he gets taken in the first.
That's a bold prediction that I like. Although I don't agree with it, because I think, and this is a take you might think is absolutely insane, as most Packer fans do, but I think if Jordan Love is there at pick 30, the Packers take him. Am I insane?
I don't think you're insane. I mean, they would very much anger Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't seem like something that he would be very thrilled with, specifically because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I look at one of the holes that they need, especially offensively, at the wide receiver. And I would suggest that maybe they go wide receiver instead of quarterback that early in the round, because you know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be your guy for years and years to come. And if there is a chance that you think Jordan Love could slip to 2, take a wide receiver in the first round and then come back up, trade up in the second round, and then you got your guy. So Jordan Love is not a guy that I would reach on. And I think that's the big difference between him and the other quarterbacks, specifically guys like Tua and maybe even Justin Herbert, because I think you look at those two quarterbacks as someone that you can reach on. I don't see Love as a guy that you can reach on in the first round. Now in the later rounds, yes. And for your Green Bay Packers, I mean, you need a little bit of help with Devontae Adams, right? I mean, you guys have been screaming for get Aaron Rodgers some wide receivers. This class is a deep class, and supposedly, and I don't know how much I want to buy into these rumors. I guess we'll see a lot more tomorrow, though. Supposedly, we're going to see a big run on tackles in the first round, which could mean some of the wide receivers that we think go high could be around later in that first round for you guys to have and just fall right in your lap.
This is going to be one of the wackiest drafts we've seen. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I want to ask you, before we let you get out of here, 2 more for you. First off, who's just your crush outside of the obvious, Chase Young's and in between? Who is your later, maybe first round or second or third round crush? And I'm going to ask you about your Liberty crush in a second, but I want somebody outside of Liberty University.
Well, yeah, I know Gandy Golden is definitely up there, but I do love these wide receivers. And I look at Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, and I think those two guys are both going to be studs. I'm not as high on Henry Ruggs III as some people, although I still do think he has the potential to make some plays. But I look at CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy, so I guess those two guys kind of count both as my crush, because I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those guys. And CeeDee Lamb's physicality and the way he breaks on the ball is nothing short of fantastic, but as equally fantastic is Jerry Jeudy's ability. You just watch him and you sit back and it's kind of like you're in awe a little bit. So I love watching those two guys in particular play. And if we do have this run on tackles, those two guys could fall deeper into that first round. And the deeper you fall, 4 wide receivers, specifically with those two guys, odds are you're going to end up in a better situation. And I think if you could put one of those two guys in what you would consider a stable organization with a good offensive mind, I mean, they could be exceptionally dangerous. So those are the two guys, CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy, that I've been really, really fond of throughout the course of this draft process.
Yeah, I like that. And you keep mentioning the tackles. I'm a very big fan of Josh Jones out of Houston. I think he's in the Packers space there around the mid to late 20s as the Packers have picked 30. So that's one of the guys I've been crushing on. The other, of course, is my maybe not my favorite receiver in the draft, but one of them. That's Laviska Shenault Jr. out of Colorado. If you have not watched his film yet, Denton, I'm going to need you to get to it. But last one for you,
he's
Denton,
fantastic.
Yes, he's terrific. Now, last question for you, Denton, is about your Liberty boy, Antonio Gandy Golden. What do you know?
Well, when we talk about deep wide receiver class, I think he almost epitomizes that, because he's a guy that's going to be around likely in the third or fourth round, but he's a guy that's going to be able to come in and make plays. One of my favorite things about him, now we didn't necessarily overlap too much when we were in college. I think he was a freshman my final there, but I've had the opportunity to watch him, and of course I'm still connected at least loosely to the program. One of my favorite things about him is the way that he consistently plays up to his competition, in the sense that he is not afraid. And when Liberty took on some of the bigger schools this year as they continue to move up in the FBS ranks, he was the one guy on the offense that no matter who we were playing, even if it wasn't a great big Power 5 school, if you're playing a Power 5 school, he's a guy that wasn't afraid to go out there and compete. And then you saw that again in the Senior Bowl. He's playing against guys that went to Power 5 schools, that played in big time conference championship games, and he is not afraid to go out there and compete. So he's going to be around in the third or fourth round for somebody to take. And I'm just hoping and praying that it's not one of the three teams in the NFC East that isn't the Redskins, because he's going to dominate. I do think he has real potential to be really, really good in this league for a long time. Maybe not a true number one, but there's so many deep wide. This class is so deep that I think there are a couple guys you're going to be able to get in the middle rounds that have the potential to play 10 years in the NFL. And I think he's a guy that could be one of them.
High praise for this year's wide receiver class does Denton Day. That's Denton Day from SB Nation Radio at Denton_Day on Twitter. Denton, thanks so much for your time, buddy. Always a great chat with you.
I appreciate you having me on. Enjoy the draft. Have a little bit of fun, and let's get after it this weekend. Should be a good time.
Absolutely. Choose a good beverage for me.
Oh, yeah. Would it be too ironic to say Corona? I like Coronas. That's just me getting down, but I feel like maybe now is not the time to suggest that beverage.
Probably not, but hopefully I can do. I still might do it. We're rebels around.
I mean,
that's Denton Day from SB Nation Radio. Talking a little bit of the NFL draft, and Denton's going to make me drink some Corona tomorrow, so I can't wait for that. So let's continue the NFL draft narrative. He mentioned this is just an unbelievably deep wide receiver class. And, the couple of pieces I've done this week or conversations I've had when the wide receiver class gets brought up, just like, holy smokes. There's like 18 guys who might not get drafted in the top 50, but that scouts and professionals that get paid a lot of money to talk about the NFL draft. You could rank like 13 guys in the top 50, 13 to 18 in like the top 50, 60. I mean, there is that many good wide receivers. The list goes on and on and on. Jerry Jeudy, he had a little red flag come out yesterday. The Alabama junior wideout, just under 21 years old, but he is just ranked number one pretty much by everybody. He's right there with CeeDee Lamb of Oklahoma. Those are the top two. But Jerry Jeudy, now there's a concern about his ankle. So I don't know if that's a team trying to plummet his draft stock or if that's a real concern. And that actually goes with a long list of names from Alabama that all of a sudden they get a last minute, 2 days, 3 days, a week before the draft. Oh, there's an injury concern now. And there was already one with Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback of Alabama, who's projected probably to go somewhere between picks 3 and 7. More like 4, 5, and 6. But nonetheless, Jerry Jeudy's going to be somewhere in there. I still think. I don't think this will make him drop. He's just an unbelievable wide receiver. He's not huge, 6'1", 192. But he's quick. He's got great precision, great attention, great awareness. Really, really good wide receiver. I mean, he's going to be, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper Big, fellow, Alabama guys. Now, CeeDee Lamb, Oklahoma, we've all seen what he can do on national stages. Same with, these other wideouts for Alabama. He's probably, just the best overall, I guess I'd say, wide receiver in this draft. I think I'd like him a little bit more than Judy, personally. But obviously in a Lincoln Riley offense, that probably helps. But they were also in Nick Saban offenses, I guess. Laviska Shenault Jr. is my crush, though. And this is a guy that's projected to go anywhere from like pick 20 to pick 65. His range is just so huge. And he just has every tool that you want from a natural ability. Laviska Shenault Jr. does. I really want him in Green Bay. Laviska Shenault Jr. from Colorado. He is just, I watched probably, I don't know, maybe an hour of film on him the other night. And he just blows me away. His route running is solid. His speed isn't all that impressive, but you can show that he's physical. He's 6'2", 220. He's not, he's bigger than pretty much most of the receivers in this draft outside of like T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, and Michael Pittman. So he's right there in size, but there's just something about him that would fit nicely in a Green Bay offense. You have a lot of guys that can really be a second Davante Adams, but you need a more of a complementary guy with a different skill set. And I think Laviska Shenault fulfills that for Green Bay. I would love to see him. I don't know at the first round. I think if Green Bay's lucky, he could fall to them at 62, but that's risky. But it depends where you rank these wide receivers, because like I said, there's like 13 guys in the top 50 and they're all over the place. There's definitely breaks right after the top three of Jerry Jeudy, who we mentioned, of Alabama, CeeDee Lamb of Oklahoma, and Henry Ruggs III, also of Alabama. After that, there's kind of like a break where you could rank, I'd go 7 or 8 wide receivers in any order. And I'd probably be like, yeah, I'd probably put Shenault 1, Pittman 2, Higgins 3, Pittman of USC, Higgins of Clemson. But that's just me. I like Jalen Reagor of TCU. A lot of people have him high. Justin Jefferson of LSU. A lot of people have him ranked high. I like him. Brandon Ayuk of Arizona State. He's solid. A lot of wide receivers to go in the first 2 days of this year's NFL drafts. I know everybody likes to talk about the sexy positions. I'll go back into the quarterback conversation a little bit more deep than we did with Denton Day, and a little bit more deep than I did before he jumped on. Joe Burrow is the absolutely unanimous number 1 pick to Cincinnati. He won the Heisman Trophy after 2 years at LSU. He was originally at Ohio State, transferred to LSU, and got to start his final 2 seasons, almost 23 and a half years old already. But he won the Heisman, like I said, last year, had maybe the most incredible college football season of all time. And I don't think that's a stretch to say that about what Joe Burrow did last year. Joe Burrow had potentially the greatest college football season we've ever seen. And I think he's going to transition nicely into Cincinnati at that number 1 pick. The problem, though, with Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Bengals, is they don't have a whole lot else going for them. They have a good running back named Joe Mixon. He's young. I think he was the 2017 draft, if I'm not mistaken. So just 3 years ago, he was drafted by Cincinnati. And he really, when he's on the field, he's terrific. He just had to deal, with an injury here or there. AJ Green is another big note of that offense. He sat out a lot of last year to an injury, yes, but also because he wanted to be traded. And he still wanted to be traded when the season pretty much came to an end. But then Joe Burrow was slotted to go number 1, and he hasn't said much since. So I wonder if Joe Burrow might save the relationship between the Cincinnati Bengals and AJ Green. Because AJ Green, when he was healthy, especially really early in his career, he was unstoppable, man. I mean, that was the period where we had, AJ Green, Larry Fitzgerald was still really solid, every year. Who else was around at that point? Right when AJ Green came out, and he was like a firecracker out of the gate. Calvin Johnson, I think, was still around. And that was just when he was in early Julio Jones years. This was when he was in the conversation for the best wide receiver in the NFL. Then he had a couple injuries that he had to deal with. And here we stand with AJ Green wanting to get out of Cincinnati. And as much as I'd love AJ Green to team up with Davante Adams in Green Bay, I think it's going to be hard to make that happen, especially now that Joe Burrow may salvage the relationship between Cincinnati and AJ Green. So we'll see. We will see. Tua Tagovailoa, I think he goes, and I've done a couple mock drafts, so I'll run you through where I have these guys going. Just some of the big names, the sexy players you care about, and then we'll talk Packers in a little bit for our last, 13 minutes. So at 1, Joe Burrow. At 2, I have Chase Young from Ohio State going to Washington. Jeffrey Okudah to the Lions at 3. He's also an Ohio State cornerback, though. The Giants are at 4. I don't think they go quarterback here because they obviously don't go quarterback here. I mean, they went quarterback last year with Daniel Jones. They have Saquon Barkley. Their offense is set. What do? They go defense. I mean, you could make a couple different cases. Offensive line, maybe, for the Giants. I mean, I think they probably go with the first tackle. As Denton mentioned earlier, there is a slew of tackles that are going to go early. So I think the Giants probably go with the first tackle there at 4, if both Chase Young and Okudah are gone at 2 and 3 respectively. Then Miami goes to Tua Tagovailoa. You don't want to start Josh Rosen. As much as that hurts me because he's my lookalike, you can't go with Josh Rosen. And he's only going into his 3rd year, but he's just not it. And I think we've learned that already. Do they give him another chance at the beginning of the year? Maybe. But Tua is probably the long-term answer, at least you think. I'm not huge on Tua Tagovailoa. There was the injury concerns, and like Denton said just a couple minutes ago, he's not going to yell at you for having injury concerns over Tua Tagovailoa. I have him too. I think he's a great quarterback. I mean, there was no doubt about that when they brought him in the national championship game, and he won the game in overtime. I mean, the greatest national championship game maybe ever. And he got thrown into that stage. It was his first game that he really had some pull going on. So it was interesting. I like Tua to Miami. I just don't know if he can stay healthy, but I'm okay with it for now. At 6, Los Angeles has to go quarterback. I'm sorry, Tyrod Taylor. You were great in Buffalo a few years back, but you're not the answer for the Chargers. This sounds like a perfect spot for Justin Herbert. And I'm not high on Justin Herbert either. I'm higher on Jordan Love than both of these guys. I don't think he should go higher. These two have proven much more what they're capable of, but I like the risk on Jordan Love. I'll get there. But yeah, Justin Herbert at 6 makes sense because you let him sit behind Tyrod for a year and then you run and gun with him, maybe. After losing Phillip Rivers, did the Chargers. He's now with Indianapolis. So I think the 3rd quarterback in 6 picks goes at 6. 7, Carolina probably goes linebacker. Arizona could go pretty much anywhere, as could Jacksonville, Cleveland. But a lot of these teams don't need wide receivers. Maybe Arizona grabs one. Cleveland might go one. No, Cleveland doesn't need one. Jacksonville might go one for Gardner Minshew, a wide receiver. New York, the Jets are at 11. They might go with one. Raiders might go with one at 12. So we'll see. We'll see. The top 10 will be fun. And then that'll answer, even when we're through the top 10, that will answer a lot of questions for Green Bay. And we'll go there now. This is what we'll wrap up the show with, is the Green Bay Packers. Because they're all over the place with me, man. They really are. The Green Bay Packers are terrific. They're just coming off of an NFC championship game, which nobody expected. Our first-year head coach, Aaron Rodgers, looked, good enough last year. Now they stand at pick 30. what do you address here? So this is the dilemma, if you will, that I've constantly been in trying to process and predict. And even though none of what I think will happen is going to happen tomorrow in the first round of the NFL draft, I still like to think that somehow I'm going to figure it out, when in reality, a year ago, I did a first round mock draft and got 2 picks right. So it means nothing. A lot of things are going to change what Green Bay does at 30. But if Jordan Love, who obviously I think I've talked about the most tonight, is there at 30, Green Bay might have to go there. It might be a year too early, but I think you got to think about it. New England has to look at him at 23. And I think New Orleans has to look at him at 24. And maybe even Minnesota at 25. I think there are quite a few teams that are looking for a quarterback, especially if Jordan Love falls. I don't think he falls out into the second round like Denton does. I don't agree with him there at all. But if Love's there at 30, Packers got to go there. Then you start thinking, if he's not there, what do they do? Wide receiver, I don't think that happens, folks. I don't think Brian Gutekunst drafts a wide receiver in the first round. I'm trying to think back to the top receivers for the Packers over the last several years, and I can't think of a first-round wide receiver. Devontae Adams was not a first-round receiver. I think he was a 3rd or 4th round pick. Same with Jordy Nelson. He was later than that. Randall Cobb was 3rd or 4th round out of Kentucky. You know, the Packers don't go high on receivers very often. And although some of them turn out to be top prospects, Julio Jones being a great example, when they're first-round picks. I think DeAndre Hopkins was an early pick as well. Some of the league's top receivers, yeah, they go there rightfully so, but then you have to look at the other guys who were 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks. I don't think Packers go wide receiver round 1. I don't think it happens, so don't get too excited. I also don't think they go quarterback. Although I think if Jordan Love's there, they really have to strongly think about it. I don't think they do it. If he's there, maybe. I think they have to really, really think about it, though. The Packers could use a tackle. Do I think they go that direction in the first round? Maybe not. I think Josh Jones, as I mentioned, from Houston, who I like at tackle, might be there at that sweet spot of 30. So that's a direction they could go. I don't see wide receiver. I don't see quarterback. Maybe like an interior defensive lineman, maybe a linebacker in the first round. Patrick Queen from LSU. I'm a big fan of him. He's quick. He's a safety who's more of a linebacker right now. He's explosive. He's quick. I like Willie Gay Jr. out of Mississippi State a lot. I think linebacker is the direction they go. I just don't know who it'll be. I think maybe we're going to see the Packers trade up. I think the odds of that happening slim. But we could see the Packers move. We're going to take our final timeout right here on SportsBeat. When we come back, I'm tossing out the hot takes. This time next week, we play that next right here on SportsBeat.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there, without there, yeah, I was out of touch.
I got your message. I was just about to text you back.
All right.
All good.
Cool.
You stay safe as well. Thank you. The time of your life. Think twice. It's the only advice. Ha ha ha, bless your soul.
You really think you're in control? Well, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just and all I remember is thinking, I wanna be like them. Ever since I was little, it looked like fun. And there's no coincidence I'll come. And I can die when I'm done. But maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're crazy. Maybe we're crazy.
At this time next week. It will be the future indeed, but it's not right now. Let's party. Let's talk this time next week. So a lot of NFL draft talk will surround this. Because next week, I mean, that's what we're going to talk about again. We're going to talk about the new Packers editions. We're going to talk about the new whatever. So let's do a couple draft predictions. Two I've thought about, and I don't know how sure of them I am. The others are going to be off the cuff, and I will try to at least a couple of them Packers related. My first this time next week. At this time next week, Jordan Love will be a New England Patriot. Look, I just can't stop thinking about that. Ever since the idea popped into my head, I haven't stopped thinking about it. Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick are going to bring in a gunslinger, a guy that might be a project for a year or two, but a guy that clearly has the intangibles and the ability to be an NFL starter at some point in Jordan Love in at pick 23, because that could just start another reign of terror. And I know this isn't the Tom Brady unplanned 6th-round pick type thing. This is a guy they're probably looking at 23 and saying, how committed are we to Jarrett Stidham? How committed are we to Jarrett Stidham? Nothing against Jarrett Stidham. But I think if you have a 1st-round pick and you're changing your uniforms and you're sending your tight end and quarterback away, but you're sticking with the head coach, maybe we should take the best head coach in NFL history, debatably, pair him up with this rookie quarterback who needs a year, and then send him out and see what he's got. I think Jordan Love is going to get drafted by the New England Patriots because it's what I fear the most. And I think there might be something behind that. This one, I really don't know if it'll happen. But I'm going to go ahead and roll with it. I think the the Miami Dolphins pass on Tua Tagovailoa. I think either we get a shock and they draft Jordan Love or somebody at 5 Justin Herbert at 5 and skip over Tua, or they go a completely different direction and they wait for another quarterback later. I don't know. But my second bold prediction is that Miami at pick number 5 will pass on Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know why. I just have that gut feeling, given the injuries, given the rumors, given everything surrounding Tua Tagovailoa the last couple of months. I think Miami might not draft him. And they might wait until the second round, maybe to grab a project and roll with Josh Rosen for a little bit. We'll see. But that division's wide open because New England lost Tom Brady. So we'll see. I mean, we will see. I think the first quarterback shock. Okay, the first team to draft a quarterback, and you're like, oh, holy smokes. I didn't see that coming. I'm between two teams here. I think Las Vegas at 12 is interesting. They could just, Mike Mayock, John Gruden, blow our caps off and go, if Justin Herbert's sitting around there, maybe draft him. If I don't know if they'll go Jordan Love at 12. I think they could be the first shocker or an early second round quarterback pick where it might bring up some conversation in the Las Vegas quarterback room. I think another shock will be the first running back. And I think the first running back goes in the first round. Although Mel Kiper Jr. is not a fan of quarterbacks in the running backs in the first round. I think the first running back goes in the first round, but barely. I think Jonathan Taylor will be drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs at pick number 32. Because I think they could use a 1-2 punch with Damian Williams, play off Damian, as Joe Buck says. Surround him with Patrick Mahomes, no big deal. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all the weapons they have on that explosive offense. Add Jonathan Taylor. Just one extra piece in your attempt to win back-to-back championships once the season rolls around. I think Jonathan Taylor goes to Kansas City in the final pick of the first round. Zach Bond will go early second round, and Quintez Cephas will make a huge jump. I think he'll get drafted fourth round. Both from Wisconsin. Zach Bond, a Wisconsin linebacker. I think he goes early second, early to mid second, maybe second. Let's just go with second. I think he goes in the second round, and Quintez Cephas goes in the fourth or the fifth. Maybe not a hot take, but I think both of those guys are going to go higher than maybe they're projected right now. At least it's a fun little detail to toss around. That'll do it for Sports Beat this week. Enjoy the NFL draft. Enjoy the Last Dance. And just keep on keeping on. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Do what you got to do. Thanks for listening. I will see you all next week. Peace.